Oppenheimer, the inventor of the atomic bomb, widely credited for saying, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. I suppose we all thought that one way or another." End quote. Despite him saying that, the first sentence, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds, is actually a piece from the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu Sanskrit text from thousands of years ago. And it's widely reported that the quote was evidence that Oppenheimer felt a massive responsibility for creating the atomic bomb and its devastating impact. But it's actually a bit different than that. If you look carefully, you'll spot three aspects that many miss. The first is that he never stated regret in combating fascism with the bomb. Secondly, the quote is actually misinterpreted fundamentally. The original Sanskrit text, which is a 700 verse or 700 chapter epic, and I think this is about chapter 12 where this story happens, where there's a prince called Arjuna, I think, and as the prince is struggling with facing people that he knows in battle, knowing that he must destroy them, and essentially Vishnu, the divine entity, reveals itself with like 1,000 faces and stuff, and says, "Listen, it's all in the hands of the divine. You don't actually decide who lives and dies." And this allegedly gave the prince comfort in knowing that it wasn't his doing. Oppenheimer, in contrast, seemed less settled in such knowledge. And finally, the third aspect is his main point was that what had been created was far more advanced than the ability to govern and manage the invention. And this here was an existential issue. And this here is where we are with artificial intelligence. As of now, at the end of the year, the end of December, approaching the end of December 2024, this is where we are. The thing is, we are yet to see the enormity of the fact that we've created a new species. And we have famous podcasters frothing at the mouth about how AI can solve everything. And the entire investment community throwing billions into projects that have an almost pathological disregard for humanity. The entire game is rigged for one hell of an interesting future. And as David Suzuki said, we're in a giant car heading towards a brick wall, and everyone's arguing over where they're going to sit. So my prediction for 2025 is that we'll see the first signs of the consequences. Not necessarily the mushroom cloud yet, but the first telling signs. What we're doing itself is creating each person's nuclear bunker for their individual identity and data. Or if you like, a force field for what I suspect happens next. Now, this might sound fantastical or ideological or dramatic, so let me break it down in a slightly more functional way, practical way. So there is this race towards creating artificial general intelligence, and almost everyone in the entire community will say that it's extraordinarily exciting that we're creating these machines that are more intelligent, more smart than humans, right? If you add to that quantum computers, where everything is immediate and all calculations are solved and all decisions are made, the pace of change in the next 12 months moving into 2025 is going to look like the pace of change in the last 10 years. And then the pace of change in 2026 will look like the pace of change in the last 20 or 30 years, because change increases in speed as we move forward. My prediction, and it may happen in 2025 or it may happen in 2026 or 27, who knows, but at some point it will be announced, and as a slightly orange flag wave, that intelligence isn't just logical intelligence, but also emotional. But artificial and general intelligence has missed the entire aspect of humanity. and it's going to be some famous thought leader or another who will be on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he or she will reveal this as new thought. It will be this showstopper, jaw dropper, that maybe we miscalculated intelligence. Maybe we hadn't thought it all through yet. And then the creeping concern will set in. It's like, hang on, we voted for humans to be replaced by things that don't have feelings, but it's the feelings that kept society and relationships galvanized. But we've handed over our information to machines to make our lives more convenient and become loyal to platforms that are now entirely and by design disregarding our emotional well-being. And it's too late to reverse ourselves out of the brick wall upon which the car in which we're strapped into impacted. Well, that's why we're building self. This is the alternate version of the outcome, and it might seem pointless now at the end of 2024, but I bet that it won't always be pointless. You may look at self today as an AI or a private search engine or as a memory bank or a personal shopper or as a personal assistant, but it's not really. It's a filter for a web that's geared toward harming humans. It's a protector for your information towards platforms that don't deserve a place within your psyche, despite you letting them in and signing the terms and conditions that you didn't read. If I'm 5% right, then 5% of us need this in the future. And if I'm 95% right, then it's a different story. But either way round, it has to be done. There's no choice in the matter. There's not for me and my amazing team. So roll on 2025. Let's see if we can spot the signs. And we certainly publish them. If you go to self.app and you can look in the Discord link, you'll see at the bottom of the screen, the social channels, there's a channel in our Discord called World of Ethics where we post signs. But I'm just as fallible as anyone else in this. I signed up to these platforms too, and I've used these same tools as well. And we've all done it. We've all voted it in. And sure, we can stand on stages and write books about our concern, but it looks a bit tinfoil hat to some extent when you're kind of talking about a potential disaster. But I'm less concerned about the shape of the disaster and more concerned about having an alternative. And if it turns out that self is as an interface with the web, a filtering system, a sovereign ethical lifestyle filtering system, and a software development kit and a layer on blockchain and an operating system, if that is an also ran because the dystopian outcomes don't happen, then paradoxically that's awesome. So if it turns out that 1% of the population, 1% of 9 billion people find what we're doing relevant, and that's cool. We'll roll with those stats. But this isn't about market dominance and getting market share, and because ironically, no one wants self to be needed in the same way as no one really wants life insurance and no one really wants to use an ad blocker. I mean, ultimately, you wouldn't have your attention intruded on by ads, right? Ultimately, that'd be ideal. But nonetheless, we need ad blockers because it turns out that's the accepted way of digital content. I think we can reverse all of these things. I think we can reverse advertising to be ethical advertising, because the people whose eyeballs are being used to generate the revenue should be the people who get the revenue from advertising, right? The people whose eyeballs and attention are being used to curate the results of a search engine should surely have ultimate sovereignty over that data that they're providing for that algorithm. I mean, it's obvious, right? It's not tough to see the way that it should be. But what's happened over time is that we have had the outrageous situation we're in normalized through extraordinarily easy to use tools. And that normalization does not make it okay. So we need to provide an alternative. And that's what self is. Anyway, finishing 2025 on Ethics TV. Thank you. This is our first year of broadcast. Here's to many more, if allowed and if around. And at the moment, at the time of recording, we haven't been deplatformed very much. So let's see how we go with that. And I hope to see you in self.app, or see you back here on Ethics TV in the future. Look after yourself. If you celebrate this time of year, then have a good one. If you don't, then I hope that you are in the best possible peaceful place with the people that you care about and yourself. See you then. Cheers.